morning, boys and girls. My name is Miss Jamie, and I am so excited that I have been invited to give you a lesson from the Bible this morning. I decided to share with you one of my favorites from the Old Testament about the fiery furnace. This involves three young men who were very good friends of Daniel, who you have learned before was in the lion's den. These young men were called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So there was a king named Nebuchadnezzar, and he built a golden image of a god that he expected everyone in the land to worship when they heard the sound of the music. However, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were believers and followers of God, so they refused to worship when they heard the music. Some of the people of the land witnessed this and decided to bring them before the king. They were tattletales. So when they brought the three young men before the king, King Nebuchadnezzar became very, very upset with them and decided to throw them into the fiery furnace, which was designated to be the punishment for anyone in the land who did not obey the king's command. Nebuchadnezzar's anger was so much toward the three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that he ordered his servants or his soldiers to heat the furnace 7 times more or hotter than it usually was. The fire of the furnace was so great that when the men bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and went to throw them into the furnace, they were killed. But after the three young men were thrown into the furnace, King Nebuchadnezzar looked in, but he did not just see 3 men, he saw 4. And as we will learn, that 4th person was very important. So our lesson is coming from Daniel in the Old Testament, chapter 3, and I'm going to read at verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. You see, just before this, Nebuchadnezzar had walked to the furnace and looked inside, and what he found were 4 men standing in the midst of the fire. And King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. So you see, boys and girls, it's very important that we remember that our God is the one true God, and that our faithfulness and worship to him will save us even in the hottest of flames.
Activity time!
And for this morning's lesson, I have prepared an activity that you can do with your parents. This is our own little fiery furnace. And what you'll need for this activity is 1 paper plate, a Sharpie or black marker, or a crayon works too, some glue. You can use stick glue or Elmer's school glue works well too. And you'll need yellow, orange, and red tissue paper. You'll begin by cutting your paper plate in half, and then you cut the middle out of 1/2. So you'll end up with an arch that looks like this. So then on your piece of plate that is still whole or half, you'll draw 4 figures. You can get as detailed on this as you want. I'm not an artist, so I have stick figures. So you'll draw 4 people, and then you'll take pieces of your tissue paper and tear them into odd sizes and shapes, and you'll glue them in front of your 4 figures. Once you've completed that, take your arch and turn it over, and you can use your marker or your crayons and draw something that resembles stone. Once you've done that, you'll flip it over and glue it, and you'll end up with a furnace with your 4 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and their savior,